right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Get More Clients. I'm your host, Lynn Whitbeck. Business owners and entrepreneurs hire me to ignite winning sales because most are chasing down clients, stuck in an endless sales cycle and lacking client retention, conversions, and profits. The mission of this show is to educate, inspire, and motivate women around the world to build a robust sales strategy to get more clients, because most can't get more clients and haven't a clue why. You will learn to transform thinking to the client's perspective, end sales chaos with a robust strategic plan, and to harvest the hidden profits. You will also have the opportunity to connect with me further to see how I can support you beyond today. Here we are. We have a big order that has to get out for our number one client. This is such a critical project. It has to ship today. Darlene, the quality control manager, is looking through the packaging to make sure everything is perfect. Now, they're ahead of schedule. Everything is just, the stars have aligned on this order. Everything's coming together. The packaging, it goes into a film case, a metal film case that the client provided. And then there's the printed materials. And then there's these film strips that was also provided from the client. And as she's making sure everything looks great, the light that's coming in from the shipping bay, through the plastic or visqueen, the clear plastic, is shining some light onto the film strips. And she thinks, well, that's curious. She picks a film strip up and holds it up to the light. She goes, oh my, fill in the blank. She almost falls off her stool. She's just like, oh my goodness. The film strip is not nice. It is sort of this S&M high school porn type stuff. It's just nothing that a professional and highly regarded with integrity company would ever put out there. All right. So she is looking at this going, holy moly. She picks up the next film strip and then another. And she starts going through a bunch of the other samples that she had already checked off that they're good to go. And they're packaging everything. It's being boxed and labeled for shipping. And she's thinking, holy moly. She's just almost shaking. She's like so perplexed. I mean, so horrified that this has occurred. She grabs the phone off her desk. She calls the salesperson and she says, you have got to get down to quality control right now. The salesperson was at their desk. They pretty much drop everything, rush through the plant and into the QC department. And there's Darlene. She's going, look at what is on this film strip. And the salesperson picks it up and goes, oh my, fill in the blank. They are the same, just absolutely stunned. And if we can't send these out, first words, Darlene goes, yeah. And they have to go out today. Yeah. Oh, are all of them like this? Well, I'm bringing in, we got to get the production manager. We got to get our bindery manager. Okay, everybody get here. In 5 minutes, we've got a huddle. And there they are. They're going through, what are we going to do? Are all the film strips like this? Who can we pull off to start working on this to go through the film strips? And as they've already started looking through them, the salesperson and Darlene, they're finding that there are some film strips that are innocuous. They're okay. I mean, granted, they're just little bits of film, and they've actually been cutting them up to put them into little bits to go into the tins that go in with the printed materials that go in the box that get shipped that day all over the country. This is for the client's flagship event, their biggest event that they hold every year, a very big deal. So some of the film strips are okay, but most of what they're seeing is not okay. And they've got a whole bunch of orders that are packages that have already been completely sealed, ready to go. And they're literally pulling them, get the skid off the dock, pull it back. It can't go out. We got to open all of these up. So how are we going to resolve this problem? The sales rep says, I got to get this to the client right now. It's going to take me 40 minutes to drive there. They've got to see this. I can't describe this on the phone. They've got to see this. Grabs a bunch of the things. I'm going to be on the phone. I'm going to call them, make sure they're ready for me. And I'll get back, call you guys, and we're going to figure out what we're going to do so that we can make this happen for the client. Sales rep jumps in that car, races off, and is on their way, contacts the client to let them know that they've discovered a significant issue with the order that they're working through. And by the time she arrives, they will have a solution in place. But this is something that they have to show the client. They can't just describe it on the phone. But rest assured, they're all over it and it's going to be okay. All right. So they got out in front of that problem, but at the same time, letting them know that they're going to have a solution by the time they arrive. Back on the phone with the plant, working out how are they going to make this happen? Well, these packages are going all over the world, or in some cases, but mostly all over the US. And the sales rep says, well, what if we ship to the places that are the furthest away? You know, UPS has zones. Some things will literally get there tomorrow. And because they're closer, and other things 2 days, sometimes 3 days, sometimes 4, 5, 7 days, depending on the ground. Anything that was going international is already going international and is expedited. So let's go ahead and pull out all of the zones and figure out, where do we have to ship to today? How many have to go out today? Can we get a late pickup from UPS? Can we deliver them to UPS? What's that going to take? So they've got the production managers on the phone, making sure that we can get the late pickup taken care of at UPS, which is a go. We've got the bindery manager pulling people in. They've already got 5 people working, going through the film strips. 2 more people carefully opening the boxes that have already been sealed so that they can then be resealed and look professional as they're going out. Or if necessary, they'll have to be reboxed, and anything that's having to be reboxed. They've also got someone else working on the shipping of which packages have to go out today and what that count is for that safety zone. So what's out that 7 days and what's out at 6 days? Because the goal would be to get all of those out. Everything was going ground, so they'll still all arrive on time. And of course, then everyone's going to get them by doing this in a staggered way at the same time, essentially, right? Because it's going all over the country. By the time the salesperson arrives at the client, they've got the solution. Everything's buttoned down. They've got a plan. They show the film strips to the client, and the client is like, oh my, fill in the blank. I keep doing that, fill in the blank. The client is just shocked, absolutely shocked. And they're like, how the heck did this happen? And I mean, they ordered the film strip, so there was at least that piece, but it's like, that's not what's important, the salesperson says. What's important is that we've figured out how to get the order, the first batch out today. Because we're shipping in zones all across the country, we're going to ship the things that are going out ground that go the furthest distance. We're going through all the film now. Some of the film strips are okay. We're probably going to have to put less film strips in this first batch that goes out today. But every day, we're going to be able to sort the film and get out what needs to go out that day for that zone, so that everything can go ground. And essentially, the entire order is going to sort of simultaneously arrive for all their clients for their big event, their #1 big event for the year. So, this story is all about when something goes sideways, right? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Last week, we discussed why rapport is crucial in your sales strategy and client success. Today, we will be discussing remarkable truths when things go wrong with your clients. We all know, no matter how great a relationship is, stuff happens. Things go sideways. You go ahead and pick your own favorite colloquial phrase here. Well, what about when things go wrong with your clients? How do you fully recover and continue to deepen your relationship? By the end of today's show, you will know how to perform emotional repair, plan scenarios to give your team confidence and assurance, and strengthen your client relationship. When something goes wrong, it's your time to shine. Showcase your ability to respond quickly with a caring competence. This will reinforce your client's confidence and trust in you and your organization. Now, that story I just told gives you a whole bunch of examples about what happens when things go wrong. Getting out in front of the situation, doing the heavy lifting, figuring out the solution. All right, so these are some basic sales pieces of information that you have to have. Do not dump it on your client's lap. No, never. Okay, you need to do the heavy lifting. Come with solutions, come with the best solution. In this case, because of the time frame of it was literally getting to that point that they had about an hour to get this all pulled together, and then they got an extra hour with a late pickup for UPS. And if you're wondering, yeah, I was the sales rep on this project. And it's just one of those things that you always remember. We all have those war stories, but we got out in front of it and we kept the client informed. I went immediately. I could go there physically on site and explain what had occurred and the solution we had in place. Now, you may not be able to do this in person. That's okay. You could do it face to face on a Zoom. The key is to communicate and clearly show them that you've got this and you've got it under control. Because when we're looking at our relationship arc, there's always this inflection point. And this is where there's a problem, a conflict, a disagreement, or potentially a negotiation challenge. So this occurs whether they're a client now or they're a prospect and they're just at that point of inflection. But for our discussion today, we're really talking about it, they're a client. Now, there's two ways this can go. And it's true in any kind of relationship, not just your client relationships, your peer-to-peer, with your relationships, with your personal relationships with family and friends. This relationship can either recover and move forward to nurturing and strengthening your relationship, because knowing how you respond and take care of problems and challenges and conflicts actually builds more trust, more credibility, more confidence, and assurance about moving forward in the relationship, strengthens those bonds. The other way, yeah, we don't want to go there. Never. Because what you're doing is you're planting a bitter seed. And that bitter seed will lead to the eventual ruin of that relationship. And maybe you're still on speaking terms, but they're no longer, you've lost them as a client, right? They're not going to be a referral resource for you anymore. They're not a raving fan. They're not going to write those glowing reviews. And of course, if it's a friend, you miss those good times when you don't get to see them anymore. All of that is incredibly important because every relationship even the strongest, go through a rough patch now and then. And I want to really talk about this wicked turn because it can go either way. So, what we want to do is talk about how we can move it to the upside. And I call these moments of truth. Moments of truth. And rather than go into explaining, you want to stop explaining what happened. And you really want to also listen to the client. Now, in the scenario I gave you in my story, did all the heavy lifting, came up with the solution. And after that had been presented, then it was stop explaining, let the client talk, let them really absorb what would happen. Be there and dramatically listen. That means you're really, truly hearing what they're saying and taking notes so that they can go through their own emotional process of what occurred. Because, I mean, that would have been an utter disaster if those had gone out and a client had happened to pick it up. I mean, the damage to their reputation could have been absolutely staggering. So that was something that the client needed to go through because this was, in the end of the day, it was all about the client. Not that we had saved the day like Superman or Superwoman coming in with the cape, but also to really let them know that this was about them and being there for them and being on top of things for them, right? It was all about the client. And it allowed us to show how much we valued that relationship, that we were absolutely on board to go that extra mile. And we were more concerned about making it right. Okay. There was no blame game. It wasn't, oh, well, we got this terrible film footage, No, there was no blame game. We actually were, and to be honest, it was that QC, that quality control, Darlene, who made the enormous difference of being the supervisor and checking out what the final, yeah, these are all great, that she noticed that film. Who would have thought that she would have done that? So this could have gone a different way where, I mean, it could have been so bad. But that was the thing, that doing that heavy lifting, really caring about the client, the entire organization, regardless of whether they're the biggest client or the smallest client, wanting to be there for the client and give them your very best, because that's what drives the organization. That's what gets that next sale from the client. So that was all so critical. And I want to talk about something that can be really hard. When a client complains, what's that first step? It's to acknowledge that the complaint is the customer's way to help us do better. Okay? It really is. All right? When they complain, this is an opportunity. You must stop and listen. Whether you call it dramatic listening, where you're all in, you're leaning in, you want to hear what they're saying, or you're that active listening, same thing. I call it dramatic listening because this is so important. Do not get defensive. Stop explaining. You must enable the client to give you the feedback because you need that feedback. It's going to make a huge difference in your organization because the client came to you for an outcome or a product. And we want to put your energy into the relationship. So this is a quick tip. Don't fight, make it right. Now, let's talk about service recovery. Service recovery is absolutely vital. And there are so many different things that we have to look at in this. So I want you to think about this as from the client's perspective. When something goes sideways, there's a challenge, there's a problem, there's a conflict. This is when your client is the most insecure. So, think of it as a triangle. I can't even do that with my hands. There we go. Sort of like a triangle. They're angry. They could be thinking about how this is them. They're in the center. They're the most insecure. And how are we responding? We're outside of that. We could get angry, or we could be thinking about how we can be confident and how we can put energy into the relationship. Or we can go down this path that, well, this is our fault. Okay. Obviously, we want to go to that confident energy side and really focus our attention there. All right. So, one of the things to think about is that all clients have recovery expectations. They are expecting you to do the heavy lifting, to come with solutions. In some cases, it could have been, we've got 3 different choices here. Maybe there was no possible way to get the order out that day. All of the film strips were bad. So we're going to have to send that first batch, the longest distance, 3-day air, or we have to bump the shipping date. Then we're going to need to know, how soon can we get film strips, or do we ship them without film strips? What are other opportunities? What are other ways that we could put that sort of concept of film strips into those tins? Think outside the box, right? So recovery expectations are definitely for you to come to your client with solutions and have already figured out probably what's the best solution or the most likely solution, but to also give them those options and have thought it through, to think about the different risks involved and the different ramifications so that you can provide them the optimal choice. Now, the other thing that so many people miss, and if you take nothing else away from today's episode, take this. Recovery is emotional repair. Okay? People are human beings. We all have emotions. When something goes wrong, that's going to churn up a whole bunch of emotions. It could be frustrated. It could be angry. They could be upset. They could be scared. Literally, like looking at this film and going, if this had gone out to our clients and the reputational damage this could have done to our business, I mean, it's almost like just grip of your heart, the fear that could come in, right? So recovery is emotional repair. The next thing I want to touch base on is that great recovery happens when it's planned. So to fully recover, you want to avoid that bitter seed because it's going to spread like a noxious weed. What you're going to want to do is go ahead and make sure that you're providing all that heavy lifting, that emotional repair, and the solution. Now, let's think about how we're going to do that. All right. So the first thing is if there are likely things that can go wrong in your business, then it's really important for you to focus on how you can put a plan in place to deal with that situation. So I want to talk about this because, when their clients have recovery expectations, and if we fail to meet them or anticipate what they are, then that is going to impact our relationship, right? And when we talk about that emotional failure, that emotional repair, when we fail, that means that their trust has been betrayed, and that's a really key part. So let's think about this. There's some really easy examples. You're at a restaurant, you order a steak, you order it medium well, and it comes and it is like, did they actually grill it on either side? It's like, yeah, I don't need to describe it. You guys get it. They barely seared it on both sides. That is not what you ordered, right? And so this is a common scenario that happens in restaurants, that something isn't prepared right. Something is wrong with the meal. So this is that's why you need to have the wait person checking in right after the meal's been served to check in and see how everything's going. And it's like, they can be trained on how to respond to this situation. Of course, they're going to take that plate back immediately, and put it back on the Barbie or the grill, right? Put it back. Don't microwave it, please. Don't ruin the steak, but actually put it back to cook some more so it can be medium well. But in the meantime, can I bring you a soup? Can I bring you a salad? Would you like to keep the baked potato and the vegetables? Can I bring you another plate and I'll just take the steak so that you can at least work on the rest of your meal? What would the client like? And of course, we're not going to charge you for your meal. All right. Now, as soon as this problem occurs, the manager should be informed, and the manager's coming by the table, that this has been brought to their attention. They want to apologize. They want to make sure that everyone else has everything they need. Of course, they're going to comp the dinner, but they'd also like to comp them their appetizers and their desserts. If they didn't order appetizers, then they want to make sure everybody gets desserts, right? And so this is the common things that you can put into place to help and serve your clients. And that is what you want to do, because service recovery is about the client, and only they can tell you what they experienced moment to moment and what they went through. You know, that they are, they're hungry. Don't take my whole plate. Please. I want to keep the rest of my food. Just take the steak and make that right. All right. So when you properly nurture your client, that relationship is going to blossom, because you're going to go, okay, yeah, but my steak wasn't right, but man, they made everything else right. Of course, I'll go back there. When my steak did arrive, it was perfect. It was delicious. And they took care of me. Things happen. They did right by me, right? That client is happy. They're going to come back to that restaurant. You can do the same thing. Because when you nurture your client relationship and you truly provide consistency and comfort, they're going to come back, because an empowered client feels secure. They feel in control and they feel confident. And this results in that client, that consistency is reliance and predictability. And the client thinks, I can trust these people. I can trust these people, even when something goes wrong. And your clients become devoted when you manage their experience, because you're going to put your energy, your passion, and excitement into the relationships. And I want you to remember that clients have ever-changing expectations along the journey that they're on with you. And I want you to always think about this. And another idea that you can implement with your clients, depending on what you do, your product or service, you can literally get together with them quarterly and have a what's stupid meeting. Okay, honestly, it's like, come together and write down what they share. Everything that they feel that when they work with you, just, it could be a little bit better. It could be a little different. And then you come back and you make it better. All right. So this is a fabulous way for me to end today's show, so that you can start to think about, how are you going to plot your recovery plan? What are the things that are likely to go sideways? Okay. Like even when you do shipping, you can ship at UPS ground, or you can ship at UPS air. Let's do air, next day air. And it gets hung up somewhere because of a storm or bad weather. Okay. It's not your fault, but the client's still not happy. Well, why not ship half of it UPS air and half of it FedEx air? Okay. Because one of them is going to make it. So let's think about that. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. My purpose is for you to get more clients. And on behalf of the Win-Win Women Network, I've carved out a limited number of time slots to invite you to hop on and ignite your sales call with me to see what's working, not working, and what you would love to have working. The fastest way to success is to assure people know that they matter. And the best way to make this happen is to build a consistent sales strategy to acquire, convert, and capitalize on every lead. And you will find growing your business is easy and lucrative. Now, this week we looked at remarkable truths when things go wrong with your clients. And the key is for you to implement these golden nuggets, these ideas, these steps to stop wasting time, energy, and resources. And you have the opportunity to jump in and get the support you need for true success. Say yes to you and get on a call with me. I am truly gifted at this, and you deserve a shortcut to your success with the right support. You can go to pdq.link/win-win. That is in the show notes. And of course, you can connect with me on our website. And to stay current on all of our insightful advice, our breakthrough advantages, and never miss an episode of Get More Clients, sign up for our weekly Wisdoms newsletter at petitetoqueen.com. And next week, we will be discussing using inspiring value statements to generate quality leads and sales. I'll see you next week on Get More Clients.